6.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, 509 SicEm365 Radio, and joined by David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, I asked this question yesterday as well. If you take all of the Cowboys draft picks, what would you rather see in the end? 8 guys, 8 players who make the team and contribute, or 3 of them who are starters?
Ooh, good question. Give me the starters, honestly. Because what does make the team and contribute mean? Does it mean you're a gunner on special teams? Does it mean, they find a way to get you onto the field in certain packages? I mean, if you can find 3 starters in a draft, that is a phenomenal draft. If they're good enough to start right out of the gate, with the chance of developing into, Pro Bowl type of players as their careers go, that's a win regardless, It's a win if you have 7 picks. It's a win if you have 11. So I'll take the starters for sure.
Would you think that they have 2 right out of the gate with Micah Parsons and Kelvin Joseph are probably going to have to start?
It will be disappointing if they don't, but I don't think you can bank on that. That's the hope, right? If they did as good of a job as they think they did, those guys should be able to start. But at the end of the day, Leighton Vander Esch has been to a Pro Bowl. We know he can play at a high level when he's healthy. Jalen Smith, for a lot of reasons. Obviously, he's started in the league for 4 years at this point. It's also a lot of money to not be playing. So, I don't think that's 100% guaranteed. And the same thing with Kelvin Joseph. Trayvon Diggs started last year almost out of necessity, and he did get picked on. And then you look at, so you've got Diggs coming back. And again, you've got Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, who might not be amazing, but there's something to be said for being 4- and 5-year veterans in the league. So it will be disappointing if those guys do not have large roles, but I don't think you can assume anything before they even get to training camp.
David, would it be fair to say that optimism is through the roof for Dak Prescott's return?
Yeah, absolutely. Seems like all systems are go. He's on track to be ready for training camp. Every box that's needed to be ticked with him has been this off season. And let's be honest, the Cowboys are as good as Dak Prescott and their passing game makes them. So, if you're a Cowboy fan hoping that this team is going to bounce back from last year and be a playoff contender, it rests on his shoulders. So yeah, it's everything to this team. And, I would hope people are optimistic with how favorable all the reports have been.
Outside of Jabril Cox, who kind of fits a lot of different roles, whether it's special teams or the nickel defense or whatever, and the guys I mentioned before, is there a guy later on that you expect to maybe have a good shot at really contributing this year? Yeah,
in a best case scenario, there's a few of those guys, right? We can talk about the off field issues. 11 incidents of domestic violence definitely make you scratch your head with Josh Ball, but the report on him is that, he was never charged with the crime. He's on the team now. The report on him is that he would have been a top 100 pick if he had a clean off the field resume. So if he's that good, then now you're talking about, a surprisingly good guy who can give you depth at offensive tackle. I don't expect him to have a huge role as a rookie, but it seems like nobody can stop talking about Simi Fehoko, the Stanford receiver. I think the Cowboys feel like they really got a steal there. A very raw but a very talented guy. Just aren't a lot of receivers that are 6'4" and can run a 4.4. So, maybe you stash him at the bottom of your depth chart and try to develop him behind all of the stars at the receiver position. But that is a pick with a lot of upside. That one is awfully intriguing for me.
David Hellman with us, DallasCowboys.com on SicEm365 Radio. So I know you weren't able to kind of watch much of what happened with the rookie minicamp. You mentioned some of the things that came out of it. What is the timeline now, David? What's next? How do you take us through from now until Oxnard, California?
It's funny. I joke about this a lot. The lack of insider info because of COVID is comical at this point, just because, I hear something new about what it's going to look like every day in terms of the protocols and what the access is going to be like. I do know, the unofficial start of their OTA session is next week. So teams should be on the field next week. And then, I think they get a short break for Labor Day and then first week of June. And then they'll have a mini camp somewhere around like the 10th. Memorial Day, not Labor Day. But so, they'll have these, I have no idea what it's going to look like, but starting next week and running for about 3 weeks. And then we'll take a deep breath from mid-June until mid-July, and hopefully we'll be in Oxnard. But I don't even know the answer to that right now. So, as usual with these COVID situations, it's a waiting game.
Will we see a veteran signing at quarterback before training camp, or would that be one of those things they get to training camp and then go, yeah, we should bring somebody in?
Well, from the sounds of it, Brett Hundley is visiting this week, which, he's a veteran backup who's worked with Mike McCarthy before, so that makes a lot of sense. It certainly seems like they want to do something there before they get to camp. They brought in Jeff Driscoll. They're supposed to visit with Brett Hundley, so that's two guys that are way more experienced than what they have right now. So if I had to guess, I would say they're going to try to do that before they go. But then you also have to think, there's a few situations that I think bear monitoring around the league too. Now that Chicago has Justin Fields, are they going to carry Nick Foles on their roster all the way up to training camp, or how long will he be on the roster once they get to training camp with obviously Andy Dalton and Justin Fields also being there? So, if worse comes to worse, maybe they can try to address this later in the summer. But if I had to guess, I think they want to add a more experienced guy before they go.
David, total shot in the dark here because I know things are somewhat limited, but did you have a chance at all to see Baylor basketball player Mark Vital out there with the Cowboys at all this past weekend? Nick Eatman had mentioned him working out, and Smokey had heard something about that a couple weeks ago. Did you get a chance to see him at all?
I'm sorry, I honestly didn't. I do know, they didn't. They're not expected to sign any of their tryout guys that came to rookie camp. So, but that's always interesting to watch because obviously, even when you don't sign a guy, they typically say, keep your phone on you. We might be in touch. So, if somebody gets hurt during OTAs or mini camp, or obviously once you get closer to the season, if once you hear a guy's name, it's, you're like, okay, I'll keep my radar out for this guy because obviously the team sees something they like. But as of right now, no, I haven't seen or heard much.
David, thank you very much. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us on Tuesdays at 5 when we come back. The Astros are playing a lot better. They got off kind of a sluggish start. A's, of course, surged to the top and a couple of others along the way in the American League West. They swept the Rangers. They're playing better.